Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Cafe Bagheri. It's summertime again, and time to make another one of my childhood favorites. Yes, my mom used to make me this dish all the time during the summer. This is Khoresh-e Kadoo, which is the Persian green squash stew, and it features a couple of main ingredients. Kadoo is the green squash, and khoresh, which is the young grapes mid to late summer when they're tart and flavorful, and they make a perfect ingredient to match the kadoo in this stew. Stick around and we're gonna make some Khoresh-e Kadoo together. All right, first let's set you up to win a free Cafe Bagheri t-shirt. All through this video, I'm going to be wearing different colored t-shirts. And you need to watch this video all the way through to the end and pay attention to how many colors you see. So I may have a t-shirt on for several minutes or maybe 1 or 3 seconds. So you need to be watching for that. Once you've seen all the t-shirts and colors, remember, and then comment below your answer under this video. And in about 3 weeks, maybe by mid-August of 2025, we're gonna go tally all the answers and pick a winner. I will contact the winner and get your address. No matter where you are in the world, I'm gonna send you your Cafe Bagheri t-shirt. So you, the winner, watch this video to the end and let's win a t-shirt. Thank you for watching. And thank you for watching. Okay, before we get into making our Khoresh-e Kadoo, I want to give you a couple of quick ingredient notes. We are going to use these green squashes in North America and pretty much all of Latin world, including Mexico. They call these green squashes Calabasitos. So if you go to a grocery store in California, Texas, Florida, anywhere in the US, you're liable to see these under title Calabasito squash. That's what you need. And by the way, this recipe can be made with zucchini. You just skin them and it's pretty much the same flavor profile. The second signature ingredient is these sour grapes, young grapes. Right before they start sweetening, they have this tart sour taste that is perfect. As part of our mise en place, which is gathering all the ingredients, there are a couple of items that we need to get started on a bit earlier. So about an hour before you plan on making your stew, you get your Persian dried limes and puncture a few holes in each of them and soak them in boiling hot water. And they need to sit for about an hour for them to get soaked up and start getting softer. Also, clean up the dried split peas and soak them in hot water as well in a small bowl and let them sit for at least an hour before you plan on putting them in your stew. Your sour grapes will most likely be frozen when you purchase them, or if you bought them in season and froze them, you're gonna have to thaw them and then get all the grapes off the cluster. Make sure there are no stems left on them because they leave a little bit bitterness in your stew if you have a lot of those stems left on them. And then we'll throw them in the khoresh, and the combination of the sour grapes and a bite of that cooked soft squash makes the perfect flavor in your mouth. So the overall game plan for making this stew is to feature your squash and sour grapes in a tomatoey broth. And the recipe for that broth differs from kitchen to kitchen. There are literally hundreds of ways to make this Khoresh-e Kadoo and present it. What you want is you want some body and substance to your khoresh. What I do is I follow the Roma recipe, which is the split pea stew that's quite popular. We have a video and recipe for it, and it's one of my all-time favorites. So what we do is we make a qeimeh khoresh, and at the end, 15 or 20 minutes before you're done, your khoresh is developed and completed, you add squash and your sour grapes to the khoresh and let it finish up. You can use any kind of meat, lamb, a combination of lamb and beef, or chunks of beef, stew beef, or you can use chicken thigh. I would not recommend chicken breast because you need some level of fat and more intense flavor from the meat. So chicken thighs, boneless, skinless, would be perfect for this khoresh. In this case, I'm using some chuck pot roast, which admittedly is not the most tender cut of meat, but it was priced right. And as you can see, it had some marbleization. For this stew, I'm gonna make the meat in larger than usual chunks. Usually for Persian khoresh, your chunks of beef or lamb are gonna be about 1 inch, 2 centimeters in size. For this khoresh, you want a little more pronounced size to the meat, kind of like this. So for regular stew, you're gonna be making it this size. For this Khoresh-e Kadoo, I'm going to make it larger, like this. Some of the pockets of fat in this cut of meat are cut into extra small pieces so that they can melt easier into your stew and add to the overall flavor. Next, we need to skin the squashes and cut them. If they're on the smaller side, you cut them in half, and if they're larger, you cut them in 4 pieces, so you end up with 4 spears. Although it's not necessary, always apply some salt to get some of the moisture out of squash. With eggplants, that's needed because they're bitter and you want to eliminate some of that. But with squash and zucchini, you don't need to do that. But the salt inherently will enhance the flavor of the final dish. So after you skin the squash, apply some salt, wait about 20 to 30 minutes for it to sweat out some of the moisture, dry them out, and then proceed to cooking them. You're going to saute them in vegetable oil on medium-high for about 4 minutes on each side. You want a light golden color. You don't want to cook them too far. This is just to give some color and enhance the flavor and get it closer to the cooked state that you want, and it will be completed in the stew later. Now we have our green squash and sour grapes ready to be featured in our khoresh. Khoresh recipe starts by sauteing some onions. A smaller portion of the onion you saute separately and make it extra golden and dark. Persians have a concept of something called Piaz Dagh, which is extra fried, crispy onion that is often used as a topping for a dip, like for kashke badem chun. You can also add Piaz Dagh, the extra fried onions, in a stew for enhanced flavor. So we're doing that with this khoresh. We drain the split peas that we have soaked and then let them go completely drained and dry. And then we sauteed in vegetable oil on medium-high as well. Then we're gonna combine the Piaz Dagh from beginning with the sauteed split peas and put it aside. Then you fry the rest of the onions and continue adding turmeric and tomato paste and your meat. Once the meat changes color a little bit, you're gonna add your hot liquids. We have chicken broth and hot water. We also add a couple of Roma tomatoes worth of shredded tomato. We add the mixture of Piaz Dagh and sauteed split peas. So we're gonna bring this to boil and let it simmer for 30 minutes. After the 30 minutes of simmering, we're gonna get the dried limes that we are soaking in water and the salt and pepper and add it to the stew, stir it pretty good, and let it go for another 30 minutes of simmering. We would, of course, check and stir once or twice during the 30 minutes of simmer. At this point, we've simmered our stew for a total of 1 hour. Then we're going to add all the rest of spices, which includes some ground saffron, cinnamon, cardamom, ground cumin, a touch of cayenne pepper. I like a little heat in my khoreshes. And I crush up dried Damascus roses, and they add quite a unique aroma to this khoresh. And then you add half of the sour grapes that we had prepped previously, push half of them in there, and then stir it completely. This is when you bring back the squash and the second half of your sour grapes and your cherry tomatoes or plum tomatoes, if that's what you got. Lay them out in a certain pattern. I like to do them in a star, and then scatter the sour grapes to create a pattern. Put the tomatoes around the outer perimeter. Make it real pretty. And at this point, you're pretty much done with messing with your khoresh as far as the aesthetics and the look of it go. And you cover it and continue for another 20 minutes of simmering, and you're ready to serve. All right, it's been hour 20 minutes. Our Khoresh-e Kadoo Persian green squash stew is perfectly done, ready to go. Isn't this pretty? I like to serve it in individual plates, and then I have garnish and rice and a portion of khoresh for each individual, and do table service. So that's how I do it. There's not a wrong way to enjoy this delicious meal. Look at this. So the last 20 minutes, these planks of green squash had time to tenderize, and we have these little flavor bombs, a sour tart, sour grapes. They go perfectly with the flavor profile of that tender squash. And these tomatoes, of course, are perfectly cooked, and they're hovering over a sea of tender beef and spices. This is really made in heaven. And when we come back, we're gonna plate it up and see how beautiful it looks. Oh, here it is. I'm so excited. Here you have it. Khoresh-e Kadoo, the Persian green squash stew, presented in all its beauty. I wish you could smell this. It is awesome. Perfect summer khoresh. I know before the end of this summer, you're gonna make this khoresh. Please send me pictures and tag me on your posts on Instagram at Cafe Bagheri. And if you like this video today, if you like what you saw, please like below this video. I know about 99.9% of you are subscribers. On the outer chance that there's somebody here watching who's not a subscriber, please subscribe and hit that little bell button so we can keep in touch and you hear from me when there's delicious stuff happening here. Again, the recipe is below this YouTube video, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for being with me today, and let's see you here at Cafe Bagheri very, very soon. Thank you for staying with me all the way to the end of this video. Remember, you can always purchase Cafe Bagheri t-shirts and aprons by going to our shop on cafebagheri.com.